Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to listen up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Phil and Ryan, listen up. Hey, Ryan, a very quick announcement, an important announcement. Ryan and I will not be missing in action tomorrow on game day against Georgetown. We will be back with a late game recap. Again, we will remind you about that after the episode is over today. So, again, we will not go missing in action. We will be right back here tomorrow, Ryan, late for the recap. Ryan, trying to recover. Still a sour taste in our mouth. I'm sure you have one. I have one. We all have one because we know the UConn Huskies are better than that. Let's go over what you think. Predictions like last, like always. What are you taking away from this Georgetown matchup as the UConn Huskies try to bounce back on a Sunday afternoon tomorrow? And what are the keys to success after such a sour defeat?
Yeah, obviously coming off the tough loss Thursday night, Huskies now head home and shift their focus to Georgetown. It's going to be the first in-conference game for both of these teams, and I'm really interested to see how UConn will play and react after losing their first game of the season. It should be an easy win for UConn, but like we've seen already this season, you can't go into a game and just expect to blow out the other team. AZ Flood will remain out for this game, which means another start for Ashlyn Shade. Shade did score 0 points. She was 0 of 6 from the field in the loss to Notre Dame. So I'm really looking for her to get back on track. It seems like it's been tough for her to kind of switch between the roles ever since AZ's come back. Ashlyn's had to go to the bench and then start, so it's kind of been difficult for her to, it seems like, to switch between those roles. So I'm really expecting her to bounce back in this one because she's definitely a really important part of UConn's offense. As for Georgetown, they're 6-4 on the year. They've had some very close wins and a couple tight losses as well. Haven't seen them play a ranked team in the top 25 until, of course, tomorrow. There's still a couple of familiar
Mhm.
faces on the Hoyas that have been the leaders so far, starting with fifth-year player Kelsey Ransom, who's averaging 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists, and she's coming off a 28-point performance, but Georgetown did lose their last game. But Kelsey Ransom's really been doing everything for Georgetown so far this year. There's also Ariel Jenkins, who's averaging a double-double in points and rebounds, and Victoria Rivera, who's averaging 12 points. So Georgetown definitely has the offensive firepower. They don't really have much depth, though. It seems like they haven't really put it all together to be able to string a couple wins in a row. But I think UConn should be able to overwhelm Georgetown on defense. We can't let Ransom get hot and go on another run. We definitely don't need a repeat showing of what happened on Thursday, but I think the UConn crowd will definitely be behind our Huskies and Stores, and it should be an easy win, but we can't take anything for granted, and UConn definitely still needs to bring the energy and still needs to show up and be ready to play tomorrow.
Well, how about head coach Ryan for Georgetown? I have a lot of respect for him. I like him a lot. We saw Georgetown what last season?
Last
That
year,
is
yeah.
when we went to DC. We might think about that again. I know I told you no, but we might have to end up going down again when Georgetown hosts UConn in DC, home of the Mystics, right? But Darnell Haney, you talk about him stepping in as head coach and what he's done for this program. A lot of respect for him in this program. And with that said, you have to remember how about the all-time great Ryan for this program, one of the greats, Grace Ann Bennett, who's now gone. So we have to remember. And again, she showed up in many games, a big baller. So she was a graduate student last year, but now gone. So that's another big name that will not be in this matchup tomorrow. Let's go over to comments, Ryan, and then we will get right down onto predictions like everyone always loves to do. Marcia Clark says, such a tough loss. Hope they can learn from this one. Rebounds, turnovers, and barely any passion. Notre Dame is an excellent team. They play with so much aggression and passion. I really love this. UConn needs more of this. Unfortunately, they looked scared and timid. This play style has been a pattern over the last few years. Maybe all the injuries. We need a Diana T like player with attitude and passion. Let's go, ladies. You got this. Sarah Strong is a great player. She made a lot of big plays. There's a lot to learn from a loss. Having faith, they will grow from this. And Ryan, two quick things. Yes, there's a long way to go. She also brought up a good point. I don't think any current player on this roster experienced that Notre Dame atmosphere. I think that was the first time for everybody that played that night as far as UConn.
Yeah, I think I mean, it was a little surprised, I think, for UConn. They definitely got a little overwhelmed, just like they did last year. I mean, we obviously knew Notre Dame was a good team, even though they had those back-to-back losses and they bounced back against Texas. I think they're still trying to figure some things out as well, but they're definitely a really talented team. And despite having those injuries, they've form those kind of seven players that they have, and they're a really strong, those seven players that they have so far this year. So yeah, I mean that's the second straight time that UConn's got kind of overwhelmed by then. But yeah, I think for UConn that it is kind of a younger team. Of course, Paige Beckers has experienced it before, but other than that, there's not too many players. But obviously Sarah Strong still had a pretty good game. Caitlin Chen got involved. But like I said, Ashlyn Shades, not being able to find her shot. I think Ice Brady, Jana L. Alfie struggling to get anything going down low. Didn't really help UConn either. So it's obviously a younger team for UConn, still trying to figure out how to play, I think, in those bigger matchups.
Yeah, I was listening to another UConn podcast, Ryan. Shout out to them. They do a great job as well talking UConn women's basketball. And they mentioned about ball screens. I mean, the passing lanes. Notre Dame was doing everything almost to perfection. And when you have a team like that, it's hard to stop it, period. Jason D'Amico said basketball is a game of matchups, and the fact is that Notre Dame matches up very well with UConn. In my opinion, having AZ would have made a huge difference tonight. I'm going to say it again. We are a team of freshmen. Paige Beckers will never be allowed to be herself until we have at least one other player on the floor that can lead besides her. Caitlin Chen is not that player, and Sarah Strong is too inexperienced. And finally, this loss is on the coaches just as much as the players. It was a very poorly coached game. Peace. Yeah, let me add this, Ryan. I'm sorry. I have to ask you this also to go along with his comment. Nothing against Chen. I like Chen a lot. But in my personal opinion, bringing in Lou Lopez Senechal, what was that, year or two ago when she stepped in, just 1 year, right, at UConn? I want to hear what you had to say. I don't think that Chen has had the impact on this team that Lou Lopez had when she arrived and started playing. I just don't. Chen, there's time to turn around, but so far what I've seen, no. And I'm not trying to compare. I get it, but no, Lou Lopez Senechal balled out.
Yeah, I don't think Kalen Chen's had quite the impact that a Lou Lopez has had or a Dorka Yuha's had, but I think, I think we're talking about a lot of inexperience. It seems like that's the common theme for
Mm.
UConn, and hopefully, I think, all of our hope is that throughout this season, there's obviously still a couple tough matchups coming, and then we have all the in-conference play. So hopefully throughout the season, all of these freshmen and sophomores on this team can kind of gain a lot of experience. And I think for Kaylin Chen as well, even though she's a graduate student, I believe, fifth year player, she really hasn't played in a lot of the big games. I think she did play in a March Madness game, but she really hasn't played in a big type of atmosphere that teams like Notre Dame and UConn and South Carolina provide. So I think there's a lot of inexperience in that aspect of the game. But I think Kaylin Chen needs to find a way to um, kind of assert herself on the offensive side of things. She's a really good defensive player. The last couple of games, she's kind of picked it up a little bit on offense, and I think we need to start seeing that a little bit more coming up through this next tough stretch of games.
Yeah, I wanted to also, I did not mention KK Arnold at all in that game recap, Ryan, after that loss. She was sweating bullets. I saw her in the background of a broadcast picture on ESPN against Notre Dame. She was giving it her all out there. So I want to shout out to KK. Incredible job against the loss, against Notre Dame in the loss. But I wanted to read this comment from the UConn Daily. It was on a video. Someone said KK was meant to be a Husky, a walking explosion of positivity and enthusiasm. We're blessed to have her. And boy, can you say that again. And I'm not just saying that because she does intro videos for us or we know her great family. You can tell. Okay. And the reason I bring that up, Ryan, I believe there's still a lot left in the tank, and we can see KK Arnold improve a lot in these, especially against these Big East teams coming up, because we have a lot of conference play, and especially tomorrow we turn the page to the Big East. But again, I think KK Arnold, we will see her break out here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it is only a matter of time, and I think it has a lot to do with her passion for the game and just the intensity that she brings every single night. It doesn't matter if she plays 30 minutes like she did against Notre Dame, or she only plays about 12 minutes off the bench. She's going to play the same way every single night, and I think that's something everybody loves about KK and her passion for the game, and I think she really was meant to be a UConn Husky, and she's definitely already proved that, despite only playing for a year and a half or so far on this team. But yeah, I think her impact on the bench is hasn't been a lot so far this year, but that was a really good sign last night. And she's obviously a really big part of what UConn does as well. She can impact the game on both sides of the ball with her defense and how she just explodes sometimes on offense with her speed.
All right, Grobel said, read my comments from the preview video. Everything I predicted happened. Yeah, we get it, we see it. And then the Riddler, Ryan, they said again, everyone came through really well, even though it was a tough loss, and that's the best way to let your emotions go, right? Just start typing away in the listen up comment section. How about that, Ryan? The Riddler said Koval only had four. Yeah, I mean, Ryan, but again, I just remember a couple years ago, someone getting on me on my case because I was praising all the players who had the most points in every game. So, but now, see, I mean, don't you agree, Ryan, that sometimes it's not about the scoring the points? I mean, obviously, you could see it was obvious Koval in the paint, big body, like I brought up before, with the rebounding. They just Jason said it. It's a game of matchups. I don't think that UConn really has an answer so far.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I said about Ice Brady and Jana El Alfie trying to get something going down low. I think they both showed signs of what they can do on offense, but I think Jana trying to come off the bench, kind of struggling to score down low in the paint. She can also score from the mid range, has an outside shot, but I don't really think she's gotten the ball a whole lot during the season. Just like Ice Brady, they don't really get that many opportunities to shoot. But I think when they do, they need to start really capitalizing when they get the ball inside. Make more aggressive attempts to rebound the ball, get more second chance opportunities. So we'll be looking for that as we move forward along in the season as well.
All right, here we go. The UConn Huskies finally return home, Ryan, for a long, long home stretch. They don't play another road game until New Year's Day. Who do you have winning and your score prediction from the XL Center?
Well, UConn is of course home. They shouldn't have much of a problem in this game, but I think they definitely need to gain their confidence back. I'm gonna go UConn 76, Georgetown 59.
All right, Ryan. I'll go UConn Huskies win this one. UConn Huskies win 82 to 59. We'll go 82-59 UConn. And again, I will see you not immediately following the game tomorrow, but tomorrow night for everyone that cares. It's Phil and Ryan on Listen Up.